Hey, Darren, I need the comments up too. We
We
are
are
live.
live.
Do
Let's do
this.
this.
Still
I'm still
waiting
waiting
for
for
the
the
comment
comment
section to
section
come
to
up
come up
here.
here.
So I
So
can
I
do
can
a
do a
little
little
chatty
chatty
chat.
chat.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Perfect. Okay,
Okay,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna
go.
go.
Awkward
Awkward
beginning to
beginning
a
to a
live
live
stream, but
stream,
it
but it
always
always
is.
is.
There's
There's
always
always
just a
just a
bunch of
bunch of
stuff,
stuff,
right? We
right?
just
We just
don't
don't
do
do
this
this
enough
enough
to
to
consistently
consistently
do it, and
do it. And
that's what
that's
we're
what we're
always
always
working on
working
is
on is
consistency.
consistency.
Got the
Got the
regular
regular
podcast
podcast
down,
down.
got
Got
that
that
new
new
camera
camera
angle
angle
right
right
there,
there.
got
Got
this
this
stuff
stuff
going.
going.
Live
Live
stream,
stream,
just a
just a
scooch
scooch
different.
different.
You're
You're
live and
live and
just
just
kind of
kind of
doing our
doing our
thing.
thing.
Making
Making
sure
sure
we're
we're
going
going
here.
here.
Will you
Here
go,
you go,
Darian?
Darian.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome,
Welcome,
everybody.
everybody.
Here we
Here we
go.
go.
Live
Live
stream.
stream.
What
What
we
we
are
are
doing
doing
today,
today,
what we're
what we're
doing
doing
today,
today,
got this
got this
camera over
camera over
here.
here.
We're going to
We're going to
read
read
three, maybe
maybe
four
four
stories.
stories.
Maybe
Maybe
hour and a half, 2 hour
hour
long
long
live
live
stream,
stream,
something
something
like
like
that.
that.
What I'll
What I'll
do is
do is
I
I
will
will
read
read
the
the
stories.
stories.
We're going
We're
to
going to
start with
start with
talking
talking
about
about
got a
got a
quick
quick
audio
audio
change up
change
that
up
we're
that we're
doing
doing
here.
here. Audio is always the thing that we're working on. Don't like to have you guys listening to a bunch of screechy stuff. It's terrible. What we're going to be doing is we're going to talk about Beetlejuice. Mayor Lori Lightfoot from Chicago. Echo. Yep. We're working on the Echo. Echo should be solved. If you can let me know if Echo is still there. And we'll just keep moving forward. So I'm going to start with the story of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. We're going to move on to, did you guys see the gallery owner in San Francisco? Been dealing with a homeless lady for like days and days and days outside of his shop. He eventually ended up turning a hose on her, and somebody took a TikTok of her and it became famous. And now the police are having to post up a cop outside of his shop. Just crazy. We're going to talk about that. That's kind of a wild one because you got business owners in San Francisco that are basically at their wits' end. They don't know what else to do. They're so frustrated. Whole homeless situation in the city, just basically not doing anything about it. We're going to talk about that. And then we've got Mayor Ted Wheeler down in Portland. He's got this massive plan, biggest plan in the United States for sanctioned homeless encampments. So the Portland Tribune kind of did a little quizaroo of Mayor Ted and his plans. I'm going to take a look at that because there's some interesting answers in there. This is a plan that will not work, and we're going to talk about it. I think most of you agree that this bad boy isn't going to work. He's going to put 6 camps together with, I think it's 125 people per camp, 750 people total, 6 different areas throughout the city. You got some silliness going on here. Let's jump on in. Let's talk about Mayor Lori Lightfoot with major crime reports. Let me get this going here. Sorry. With major crime reports up 41%, Chicago's mayor says her crime plan is working. Yeah, it's not working, is it? It's not working because you look at the number of shootings going on in Portland. It's coming down a little bit, but crime levels in Chicago have been elevated since 2009 wildly. With major crime reports up 41% last year and Chicago police staffing down 12% since she became mayor, Lori Lightfoot says she has a public safety plan that's working. We're seeing steady improvements in public safety efforts, Lightfoot tweeted on January 3rd. What exactly are those public improvements? Yeah, what are we talking about? Because she's got a public plan, but is it working? Man, I don't know. It doesn't appear to be, does it? No. I mean, crime is up 41% since she took office prior to 2019. 41%. And yet she's got the balls to come right out and say, yeah, things are good. They're fine. Yeah, they're all good. So we're seeing steady improvements in public safety efforts. Lightfoot tweeted on January 3rd. Much more to do, but we're on the right path, she said in another tweet on January 5th. When it comes to addressing crime in our city, I've got a plan, and it's working, Lightfoot said in a tweet Tuesday morning that included her latest campaign ad. In the spot, an unidentified man blames haters for the city's crime perception problem. So she's got this ad. It's I need to find that ad. We're running a little bit behind here, so I don't exactly have all of my clips lined up perfectly. But there's an ad, and it's a PR, basically a PR thing. And you've got some random people saying she's really doing a good job, and haters gonna hate. It's like, no, the citizens of Chicago are not enjoying their, massive shootings and robberies and just general mayhem going on. They're the folks that are being impacted by all this. And then you've got a PR firm that's putting together this little ad, and it's wild, right? It's wild. In the spot, an unidentified man blames haters for the city's crime perception problem. The mayor says the man has got a plan. The man has got a plan. She's putting more police on the streets and getting more guns off of them. So that is just simply not true, is it? It's just simply not true. Number of police officers in Chicago has decreased considerably. I think it was like 1,600 officers. Yeah, gone from 13,302 down to 11,731. So whatever that is, seven. Yeah, my math, not a math major here, but down significant numbers of police officers, not adding more to the streets. And even if you were, would it be enough to quell the violence that's going on here in Chicago? You've got let's just take a quick peek. Let's just see what we've got going on Hey Jackass. That's always a good one. I enjoy taking a look at Hey Jackass because they do kind of real live time stats of Chicago. So every 2 minutes, 26 seconds, you've got a person is shot in Chicago right now. Every 11 minutes, 56 seconds, a person is murdered in Chicago. 2.5 minutes, shooting happens. 12 minutes, somebody dies. Somebody's murdered. So, I mean, if by those statistics, your plan is working, all right. I mean, I'll bite. How is this working? When it comes to addressing crime in our city, I got a plan and it's working. Yeah, no plan whatsoever. In fact, 21 of Chicago's 22 police districts have lost cops under Lightfoot's administration. Reports of major crimes were up in all 22 districts last year compared to 2019 when she took office. Overall, Chicago Police Department's force strength has plummeted from 13,302 officers when Lightfoot took office to 11,731 this month, according to the Office of the Inspector General. I'll show you guys what I'm reading here. In fairness, when the guy on the TV ad said Lightfoot is putting more police on the streets, he may have been referring to the number of cops who protect the street where Lightfoot lives. We've talked about this as well. While other units atrophied under her watch, the Detached Services Unit, which provides mayoral security, ballooned 177% from 56 officers to 155. So you've got this situation where you got a mayor saying, hey, got a plan? We're working on it. And then the stark reality is something wildly different. Meanwhile, her security, she is definitely beefed up because, I mean, we all know Chicago just isn't safe, right? It's just simply not safe. Otherwise, in districts from one end of the city to the other tell the same tale. Under the Lightfoot administration, the number of cops is down and the amount of crime is up. So it's just wild when you have these politicians who come right out and say one thing and you're reading it and you're going, and if you followed any of my stuff at all, I've covered Chicago quite a bit because Chicago is kind of the poster child for not being a safe city. It's crazy, right? You've got so many statistics and so much criminal activity coming out of Chicago, and everybody pretty much just wants to, ignore the fact that this is the situation. And, we've got a plan. We've got a plan. We've got an ad campaign it's really going to put out what we've got going on here, which to me is just, it's not good, right? All right. So throughout 2022, Chicago Police Department and the mayor's office played up talking points about hundreds of prospective new officers being trained at the city's police academy. Yet, despite the hype and training efforts, the police department failed to keep up with attrition and experienced a net loss of 169 officers last year. That is happening all across the United States. That's just going on everywhere, right? Citywide, major crime reports are up 33% compared to 2019. On New Year's Day, the department issued a press release boasting that 2022's crime rates were down compared to years dating back to 1965. All right. See, what you've had is in the last few years, you've had a massive spike. Like after 2018, you had a massive spike in crime in Chicago. You had a spike in crime across the United States. It's almost kind of like, everybody on the criminal end of things was just flat given the green light, right? They were just like, hey, it's go time, guys. Jump on in, do your thing. And I've read that on, so many different articles. We're not really sure what's going on. There's a social phenomenon going on here. And we don't really know what the deal is, but it's happening and we're not sure why. What was interesting is that during the pandemic, it almost did seem like there was a switch that was flipped, right? Just click and things just took off. Because I remember reading stories here about downtown Seattle and downtown Portland and kind of going, whoa, all right, so we got this pandemic where we're shutting things down. And yet all these other news stories are basically indicating, all right, we shut things down and crime just took off. Crime just went through the roof. Statistically, that's what's happened. In Chicago, yes, it's come down the last couple of years, but that's because it elevated so high. And it's up 41% over where Lightfoot was when she took over. So way more crime. And yet she's complaining, or she's claiming, we've got a plan. We're getting stuff done. Just stuff is happening. On January 17th of last year, 51-year-old California resident Sergio Ontiveros was battered outside a Wrigleyville bar. He fell during the attack, hit his head on the pavement, and died 8 days later. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office declared his death a homicide due to craniocerebral injuries suffered in an assault. Chicago Police Department continues to classify the case as an aggravated battery, not a murder. It's impossible to know if other murder cases carry lesser classification of Chicago Police Department records. So, bottom line is here, are the books being cooked? Could be. It could be. I mean, would it surprise you? There's so many murders happening. There's so many, examples of criminal activity happening. You take 20% of those and scooch them over to aggravated battery. It's not a murder. Somebody's life is ended. They're dead. I mean, that's not where we want to be. And yet these politicians just, they claim this other thing. And you're like, are you really going to sell me that? Is this really what you've got for me? Because this doesn't really work. And yet, the people that voted her in will stick behind her. They will stick behind her and say, she's doing a good job, doing some solid work. The rest of us are kind of sitting in from the outside going, oh, yeah, I don't think so. I'll just read this last spot here. On Tuesday morning, about the time Lightfoot's new campaign ad debuted, the Chicago Police Department released its latest weekly crime statistics report. Through Sunday, overall major crime reports are up 72% compared to the same time last year. It certainly seems like Chicago is off to the races and doing its thing. As far as criminal activity goes, and it doesn't seem like the levels have decreased, but it's because things have elevated so high that when you come down just a little bit, all right, crime is coming down. But it's like, oh no, it's what I equate it to is real estate terms. Market goes up forever, right? It goes up, goes crazy, goes up, 100% over 3-4 years. If it comes down just a little bit, yes, it's come down, but how much has it risen? And that's what I'm getting at here is it rose for Chicago 41%. And yet the mayor is saying, well, we've got a plan and we're acting it out and haters going to hate. And yeah, now, how many of those folks in Chicago are believing her? I don't know. Who voted her in? I don't know. Are they going to stay behind her? Because I think she's running again, right? I think she's running again. All right, that is it for this storyline. And I'm thinking I should have read the other one first, but we had this is the gallery owner in San Francisco. This is a wild one coming up here. So stick with me here. I'm going to read some of the comments, see what you guys are. Buy the ticket, take the ride. Don't expect that little shrew in the mayor's office to help. Precious. Yeah. A lot of people not fans of Mayor Lori Lightfoot, right? So if her plan is to turn Chicago into a hellhole, then it's working perfectly. That's what most folks are saying, right? It's like, all right, and you get what you pay for. You voted this lady in. You voted. I can't imagine putting my vote behind her, but there's other people out there too. Same thing. I'm like, really? How are we doing that? Soros spent millions getting prosecuting attorneys into office who won't prosecute. His agenda is to demoralize people so that they can grab power. 100% agreed. 100% agreed. I was watching The Newsroom. Been watching that on HBO. And they had a comment about Soros, which is interesting because it's put out by Aaron Sorkin, I think it is. He was the producer. He's pretty liberal from what I understand, but he had pretty dialed in. They were trying to talk, the show is about objective news, and it's a really interesting show. Unfortunately, my girlfriend and I started on season 3, not realizing it was season 3. And then when we went back to season 1, we're like, well, we haven't seen any of this. So we kind of came in midstream, but it's wild how different entities just clearly identify same thing here. Soros has spent millions. Did a podcast here not too long ago talking about yet another deal he is funding, which doesn't help out our court system, doesn't help out, keeping criminals off the street. And yet, liberals want to see that. They want to see, we're being fair to people. We're being compassionate to people. All right. What else we got here? The plan is working. Law-abiding folks are being attacked. Yeah, they are. They are. I mean, it's just what's happening. And what so many of you guys often comment is, then leave. And I think what you are seeing is in these crazy cities, in these like Seattle, where I am, but I'm here in Bellevue. I think you are seeing an exodus from these cities. But what it's doing is it's kind of centralizing positions of power, and it's divided upon, the two lines. Are you conservative? Do you follow anywhere, right of center, or do you follow left of center? And that's where people are going. And I happen to live here in Seattle. I happen to have grown up here. And now I'm kind of realizing that a lot of what I saw growing up is exactly what we're talking about here with the whole Soros deal and with the whole kind of we're changing things up. Seattle's become a very liberal city. It's always been liberal, but back prior to when I was a kid, it was kind of a man's tough town as far as the logging industry, shipping industry, and the term Skid Row literally comes from downtown Seattle. because you'd bring the logs from the Cascade Mountain foothills, all the logging territories, and you'd bring them to the hills because downtown Seattle is super steep, and you'd skid them down to the waterfront where they'd go out for processing. So, Seattle has always been kind of rough, but then we've gone through, and a lot of other towns have too. Portland, San Francisco. San Francisco's always been that way though, right? It's always been a little, you guys are just a little too progressive going on there. But Seattle and Portland have really progressed to the point where even my children are kind of identifying that, and they're like soon to be 30 and late 20s. They're like, Dad, this whole Seattle thing isn't really, this isn't really what I signed up for. I don't really identify with these people that much, because they're both born and raised in Bellevue, went to Bellevue High School, also known as Hot Tub High, because back in the day, everybody had a hot tub when, hot tubs were something only the rich had. So, they grew up in that type of environment with, multi-millionaires and billionaires at their school, that kind of deal. Far cry from Seattle, but now they both happen to live over in Seattle. And they're like, Dad, yeah, what are we doing here? All right, let's see what else you guys have. What's her plan to stop crime? To show her saggy in downtown Chicago. I don't know if showing her saggy, what's is really going to do much, but I hear what you're saying. Just her showing up to me is like scary. The whole Beetlejuice thing, like, ooh, yeah, wild. All right, let's get into the second one. This one is gallery owner. I'll do the screen here for you. Gallery owner who casually hosed down homeless woman camped outside his upmarket San Francisco business defends himself, saying she had been violent and neighbors have been trying to help her for 10 days. Let's look at the video. I'm gonna scoot you right to the video here. Now here's an image of what you're gonna be seeing. It's pretty crazy. Okay, here we go. Got that up. I need to turn up my volume. Get you guys some volume. So this one does not have, I'm not hitting, oh, there we go. Sorry. Let me replay it for you. So, you've got a crazy lady, and a crazy lady who's been outside of this guy's business for a long time. You are seeing the end result of a guy who is just, is absolutely frustrated with what's going on outside of his business. And basically the city of San Francisco is doing nothing to help him out. Now, this has gone viral on TikTok. This guy, all of his social media accounts have been shut down. He's literally got a cop out in front because, the folks in San Francisco are like, oh, that poor lady. What you're not seeing is her taking a crap in front of this guy's business for weeks and weeks and weeks, leaving stuff strewn all over. Not exactly the look you're looking for if you own an art gallery. You know what I mean? And it's not just this lady. It's thousands of homeless folks hopped up on drugs. Don't know if this lady was or not. This lady is probably literally, she's just mental, right? So she's mentally out on the streets where she shouldn't be. She should be getting help somewhere. She should be getting care somewhere. She should probably be medicated because she is just, hunkered down doing her crazy thing out in front of this guy's shop. And this guy has called police. He's called everybody that he can. And this is a common occurrence. What you're seeing is a dude that's just pissed off. He's going to take that garden hose and he's just going to help her move on down the sidewalk. And I understand his frustration. Now, he got caught. He got caught is the bottom line, right? And he probably shouldn't have turned a hose on her. And I know you guys are going to say in the comments, this is what you get. This is what you get. You know, I can't really argue with you. If you're going to be homeless on the sidewalk and you've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on out in front of some guy's art gallery, he takes matters into his own hands and scoots you along. The little hose action. Yeah, I can't blame the guy. But now the optics. I mean, this is the city of San Francisco is just all worked up. Oh, that's horrible. Somebody down on their luck. That's horrible. Some of the comments I've read are just like, I understand how you guys get in a position where you allow homelessness just to run rampant in your city with comments like you're making, which is, you know, this guy is just, they're talking about putting him up on charges of assault. Sprayed some water on the lady. How about all the homeless folks that break laws every single day and absolutely nothing is done? How about all the drug addicts breaking into businesses? That's the frustration that is coming from behind this guy with the hose, right? I mean, he's kind of like, don't really care, going to help you move along. Let's clean things up. Literally, let's clean things up with the hose. And so, yeah, I see both sides. I see this little tiny video, but what isn't, and he probably shouldn't have turned the hose on her, right? I mean, but what else do you do? What else does a business owner do? You know, business owners in the Castro, they've hired security guards. And so you go through many of those small businesses right outside or right in front, you've got an armed guard, you've got security. And then you've got a number of businesses in the Castro saying, hey, we're not paying our taxes because you guys aren't doing anything. That's the backdrop. And how about all the podcasts I've done on just individual businesses and the craziness and, you know, just the wild times in San Francisco because they've let things go and there basically is no law and order. And it's, you know, for these businesses, they are literally having to take matters into their own hands. What else are they going to do? Somebody made the comment that this is why the baby boomers are the worst generation ever, because you got a baby boomer turning the hose on them. And what I was kind of thinking is that's a guy leading by example. Now, he might have stepped over that line, but he is doing something. He's trying to run his business, which he's run there for 40 years, I think. We'll get into the story, but I think it's like 40 years. Turns the hose on somebody that's, you know, been running around just not acting crazy, literally being crazy. So you got all these armchair warriors, you know, making all these comments of, we should just we need more compassion. We need to be more compassionate. It was 49 degrees and raining that day. Well, you still can't camp out on the sidewalk. I mean, you can, but you might suffer some consequences. And if a dude turns his hose on you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Biggest problem that this guy had was that he got caught, this business owner. Yeah, I hate to put it in those terms, but it's absolutely true. Because you know this stuff happens all day long. And then you might say, I forgot what I was going to say there. Got caught by a comment over here. There's some crazy stuff you guys are saying. And I don't blame you because this is a wild story, right? I mean, it's insanity, the levels that we've gone to. All right, let's move on down here. The owner of an art gallery in San Francisco who was caught on camera spraying a homeless woman with a hose pipe being basically garden hose, has defended his actions. In footage shared on social media, Collier Gwynn, who runs Foster Gwynn Gallery in the financial district, leans against the gate of a restaurant and continues to spray the woman despite her yelping with discomfort. Local businesses were quick to condemn his actions, while scores of enraged social media users left dreadful reviews online, causing the gallery's rating on Google to plunge to just 1 star. Okay, I need to remember that that's where I left off. You know what's going to happen to all these keyboard warriors? They're going to go away. This guy's going to take himself offline for a month or so. His business probably isn't totally driven. It's probably driven by referral. What I understand, Schwarzenegger has shopped there, a bunch of big celebrities. He's got a good name. people are going to recognize, all right, yeah, the dude's bottom line job is to sell art, whatever it is in his gallery. I don't know. I didn't go that far because all I cared about is, hey, this guy's he's actually doing something. And then everybody's condemning him. I mean, you're going to see more and more of this. You're going to see more and more actions of people taking taking things into their own hands. What other options do they have? The city isn't doing anything. And you're seeing that in so many municipalities across the United States, typically places where we've defunded the police, you're low on cops, you've taken felony offenses and made them misdemeanors, and you've legalized drugs. And now you've just got this ecosystem where you've got, and we also dumped out the mental institutions, right? This woman probably fits under the mental institution, part of this, but she could be on drugs too. I just don't know. I don't know much about her. I did a video yesterday. I think we released a video. Her name was Wendy. If you've seen that video, Wendy just kind of, spills the tea on how easy it is to be homeless in San Francisco. Some wild stuff there. She just kind of says, yeah, we party all night and then spend the day, going out and getting food and partying and get food, lunch, party, dinner, party. She talks about that. Is this lady who got hosed on the sidewalk part of that crew? Who knows? Either which way, from what the business owner, the gallery owner is saying, is that she's has an adverse effect on trying to do business. Doing business in a small business like this is hard enough, right? Let alone having somebody take a crap on, outside your business, your store. I was watching a gym that's posting videos in downtown Seattle. They go up and bang on the window because just outside there's some dude lighting up his tin foil. And, they start opening up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. They got to wake all the homeless people literally in their alcove, get them away. At what point do you tell the business owner, hey, maybe you should just shut down and move on? At what point does that become a reality? Yeah, I don't know. Because I wouldn't want to have to put up with hosing somebody off of my sidewalk. So this guy, this is like him just being pissed off. And to me, it's like, all right, he took a stand. He's telling it the way it is. He's going down those roads. Let's watch another video where he tries to explain. Got to remember where I was there because we're going to skip around here. All right, discussing the incident. Here's another video. Let's take a quick peek at this one.
Days, the neighborhood trying to do something, meaning that they want to pass to get them taken to a shelter, which they leave immediately. But they've also had a situation where I don't know.
I've listened to her talk to the people and say, no, this is the way I want to live. Yeah. My idea of cleanliness is not your idea of cleanliness. And I've listened to her do that, but
it's fine if she knows what she's saying.
Yeah.
It's fine if she knows what she's saying. It's fine if she knows what she's saying. That was the bottom line there. You know what? I don't think I had the screen on so you guys could see that, but you kind of heard this was the business owner talking to a reporter out in front of his shop. The lady doesn't know what she's talking about. She's totally mental. She's just, she's literally not there from a mental perspective. Let's keep reading here. So, discussing the incident, which took place on Monday, Gwynn said, I've been here for 40 years. We have tons of homeless people, but they haven't been in a situation where they get that violent. 10 days of the neighborhood trying to do something. So it sounds like she was a major issue for, probably just going through one of those psychotic episodes, those psychotic periods, that she's just wildly out of control. And having that out in front of an art gallery, that does not exactly scream, hey, come on in, spend some money in my gallery, does it? No, it just doesn't. It's kind of goes the opposite way. We've been able to get them taken to a shelter, which they leave immediately. They leave immediately because they don't want to be there. Oftentimes they don't want to be there because they can't do their drugs there. You know, they're out of control. They can't live within the rules. And, you know, the whole ecosystem that they depend on, the streets, they're not having it. They're not gonna, you know, they're just not gonna deal with that. Here we got that guy. I thought he defended his actions pretty well, but major problem is probably shouldn't hose somebody down because the optics are just horrible, just terrible. I mean, yeah. What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Dude got caught, right? So let's keep going here. Yeah, it was a TikTok reel. The reporter in the video said, I've listened to her talk to the people and saying, no, this is the way I want to live. My idea of cleanliness is not your idea of cleanliness. Okay, so you got a taxpayer paying taxes, and yeah, you got somebody just living on the streets doing their own thing. The two don't jive, do they? They don't jive. Gwen replied, that's fine as long as she knows what she's saying. That's what we just heard. And she doesn't know what she's saying. She's out of her mind. After admitting to being the man on the hosepipe video, Gwen also tries to defend his actions yesterday, claiming the woman had become psychotic and was turning over garbage cans. Well, you know what? She probably was. She probably was. And so, you know, what's the saying? You grab the bull by the horns, you might get whatever, stuck. Well, you might. And, you know, getting wet, that's not exactly the worst thing in the world, is it? Spray a little water on somebody to get them to move on. I don't know. You know, to me, yeah, it's probably, it's not good optics and it's not the nicest thing to do to somebody. But if they absolutely won't leave, what do you do? And the city won't come out and do anything. Cops won't come out and do anything. What do you do? Yeah. So I don't really blame this guy for doing what he's done. I don't. I really don't. Sorry. If people think of that as not compassionate, it's like letting people live on the sidewalks the way they are in cities like San Francisco or Oakland or Portland or areas of Seattle. Letting people live like that, just basically animals, that's not compassionate either. It's really not. All right. After admitting to being the man in the hosepipe video, Gwen also tried to defend his. Okay, we read that. I said you have to move. I cannot clean the street. Move down, Gwen told the San Francisco Chronicle. She starts screaming belligerent things, spitting, yelling at me. And at that point, she was so out of control, I spray her with the hose and say, move, move. I will help you. Okay. Now, you might say, well, he was, you know, helping her along, but mainly he was just trying to get her to move, right? He also knows that he's previously been a champion of trying to help her. The chef of Briochette Cafe, who captured the video, when he saw the scene unfold while making an early morning delivery around 6 a.m., I was shocked, Edson Garcia told the Chronicle. I know that lady. So everybody knows these people. That's what's so nutty, is that people are just living wherever, willy-nilly. It's not the way it should be. The video has since amassed millions of views, but despite the widespread backlash, Gwen stuck by his actions. You know, spraying her is not the solution, but spraying her was something that woke her up, and that calmed her down, Gwen said. So am I sorry? I'm only sorry that my way of helping her countlessly has gotten nothing done. Gwen added that before the incident, he'd allowed her to stay on the sidewalk for days and attempted to call the police and other government services to help her get help. His art gallery has been running since 1984. I was a freshman in high school. This guy's been at it forever. He's been at it forever, and he brought an A-list client such as Arnold Schwarzenegger, according to his Socket site. Daily Mail reached out to Gwen for a comment, but he wasn't immediately available, and now appears the firm's social media pages have been shut down. The gallery shares a wall with a restaurant called Barbarossa Lounge, which is where Gwen was seen leaning up against a gate in the video. I think that's about it for this one. Yeah, there's some more stuff. So, yeah, it's basically the restaurant owner saying, oh, it wasn't me. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. And, yeah. Wild situation, right? You just let things go. You just let things go. And you get what you pay for, right? This is what the citizens of San Francisco have paid for. This is what they bought with their vote. And you know what? These same individuals who are bitching on social media, giving 1-star reviews because they can't give 0-star reviews to the shop owner, to the gallery owner. They're the same ones that are going to call the police and bitch about the police not coming in a timely fashion when their place is broken into, when they have, criminal activity against them, when their wife or somebody gets assaulted. Where are the police? What happened to our police presence in the city? Yeah, just this absolute craziness. So this is kind of part 2 here. Police guard Foster Gwynn Gallery after owner turned hose on homeless woman. This has gotten a lot of press. This has gotten a lot of press because people are just outraged. I think what it does, it kind of puts the spotlight on this is what people are having to resort to. This is what business owners are having to resort to because their taxpayers' dollars aren't coming back to them in the form of services. They're just not. They're just not. So to the baby boomer there, I didn't really have any issues with his actions. In a context that I understand it to be. It's kind of like, all right, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. But bottom line, I understand you got to do something. And you did something and you got caught. Yeah. But hosing somebody down with water, I mean, isn't this about what you'd get in jail if you didn't comply with getting a shower? Probably. So is it really that harsh? Is she going to be able to get some clothes somewhere? Absolutely. Some dry clothes somewhere. This is not the end of the world. And 49 degrees, that's called most of the year in Seattle year round. And San Francisco isn't that different. All right. Let's take a look at this article. So this is, police guard Foster Gwynn Gallery. So you got a police car out in front. So you've got a broken window on the front door. So sad. I mean, these are just business guys. These are just business guys trying, this guy's trying to finish out his career, right? I mean, how old is he? Is he 70 something? Maybe approaching 80? I don't know. Looks like he's in great shape. He's getting around. He's going to work every day. People should be commending him for still going. He's not retired. He's just going to take his shop, probably loves his shop. He just doesn't love dealing with the crap outside, literally the crap outside that he has to contend with. So he takes a hose and he's cleaning the urine and poop and, out into the public street so the street sweeper might come along and squirted the lady a little bit. Yeah, got a wild, right? Police are guarding the Foster Gwynn Gallery after a video of the business owner turning a hose and the homeless woman went viral. Gallery owner Collier Gwynn has since received a smashed front door and a deluge of 1-starred reviews. We heard about that. The business is now listed online as temporarily closed. He's going to close down that shop. This is going to go away. He's going to come back on. Or, you know what? He retires and says, F you. I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. I'm done. F you and your, protecting of everybody but the actual tax-paying citizen. Can't you see that happening? I could. And I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him one bit. A manned San Francisco Police Department patrol car now sits outside the beleaguered storefront. Police department has been contacted for comment. Why? They've got other fish to fry. They should be coming out. They should be taking this woman. They should be doing something with her. But bottom line is where's she going to go? Are they going to put her in they're going to involuntarily put her in a psych ward? No, we're just not doing that. In the wake of the ensuing rage, San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott urged calm. Well, cops got to say that, right? What I ask for is civility for people to take a step back and to call police, not call 311 or 911, Scott said. Let us come together and help settle disputes. If we can't settle them civilly, because the last thing we want to do is to get somebody hurt. All right. So where I take, this is what a police PR person has to say, right? Because otherwise you've just got chaos. You've just got anarchy out there. We can't have that. But it is literally anarchy for these business owners and for people living in these areas. We read about that all the time. How about the Christmas one I did where the mom is saying, yeah, we've got this, I forget what area, I think it was downtown San Francisco. We've got this, Christmas scene going on, but then right up top, literally on street level, you got to go down a set of stairs to get down to this Christmas scene. Right up top, you've got, guys drinking booze, and you got people, selling crazy stuff. Who knows? You got people probably selling, you got people living on the sidewalk. This is what the citizens of San Francisco paid for with their vote. So, I think you're starting to see a little bit of backlash towards this. I know you're seeing that, but is it ever going to be enough to change things? I don't think so. I think this is what you get. And, with Mayor Ted, which we're going to read about, with Mayor Ted down in Portland, he's trying to come up with a plan to solve some of the homeless issues. It ain't homeless, it's drugs. And if it's not drugs, it's because you've got a person that is literally should be in an institution somewhere getting whatever mental help she needs. And maybe she does a combination of that and on drugs as well. It's hard to say, right? You just don't know. So a call on Twitter for a gathering outside of Gwynn's Gallery did not materialize in the pouring rain on Wednesday afternoon because there were a bunch of protesting pussies. That's what they were, right? We're going to protest. We're going to go out. I noticed that when the whole Chop Chas thing was happening. Little bit of rain, protesters, they just disappear. So, this isn't good. Because most of them are from California. They're from somewhere else. They weren't from here. And, they're just running around. They go to Georgia, and then 5 of them get, arrested and domestic terrorism charges. Some wild stuff going on. Supervisor Ann Peskin addressed the matter at a press conference Wednesday. It's gut-wrenching and horrible to see anybody treating somebody who is destitute and desperate with such inhumanity. Well, yeah, but you got to balance that with the inhumanity of just letting people live on the sidewalks out of their mind on drugs, killing them with drugs. But we don't really seem to see that as inhumanity. We seem to see that as tolerance for somebody else's behavior because they want to choose that, right? They want to choose that. Like the shop owner said, this woman, she doesn't even know what she's saying. She doesn't know what she's saying. You've all had those conversations with people and, maybe you come up on them or, you don't really know what their deal is and, you're just trying to feel them out. And then eventually you get to that spot where you're like, all right, this person they're just effing crazy. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time. It sounds like that's what this was. Guy turns the hose on her. Social media just, this is terrible. Worst man ever. Horrible. Baby boomers are terrible. No, this guy probably has the patience of Job. He just had, he didn't know that his next door neighbor tenant was taking a video of him and his next door neighbor is, probably more along the lines of, live and let live. And so he posted the video to TikTok and it just blew up. And now this guy's, rocks are being thrown through his window and crazy stuff like that going on. It's a crazy world out there. So, if you're on a public street and you're doing something that maybe you shouldn't be doing, got to think that through. Unfortunately, this guy, Bill Burr does a bit where he says at some point in time, some of us, we just get too old and we just do stuff that you would have been able to get and gotten away with previously. Now you can't because there's a camera everywhere. There's some jackass with a cell phone everywhere. And so, what you used to be able to get away with and what you used to do and what your mindset is. And I find myself doing this all the time is thinking to myself, is this just old man talking? Because back in the 80s, back in the early 80s, this wouldn't have happened. And then you got to think, okay, so what's going on now? How do I make that happen? I think this guy just didn't give a damn. You know what? I'm okay with that. All right, I'm going to end that story. Let's see what you guys are talking about over here. Yeah, there's a waiting list to get into rehab. You got to put them all in jail. Thank you, Sean, for supporting the store owner, spraying the vagrant. Yeah. There's a waiting list to get it. Yeah. So What else do we have? John, you will not solve this. Okay. If we had abundant manufacturing jobs, that would be a tremendous good. You guys are coming up with all kinds of stuff. South of the border, there's a war on police, and that's coming here. The cartels shoot cops all day long in Mexico. I have been reading, hey, Mercury, I have been reading about that. And I've got a handful of stories that I might do on the subscription channel on reasonabletv.com, but I'm not really touching anything cartel wise here on this channel. We're not gonna, because I just kind of feel strongly that, as far as the cartel goes, they don't really hold back. They don't really care what they do, how they do it. They're doing their own thing. And I believe that includes here in the United States as well. They're clearly shipping all kinds of stuff into the United States. That open southern border is just, that's a wild shame. Should never be happening. And yet it is. And that's what I blame on, this homelessness that has just exploded in the last few years. A lot of it has to do with fentanyl. Because what I do, I watch as many videos as I can on top of, I go out occasionally, but to be honest, I really don't like hanging out in areas with lots of encampments because I value my life and I don't like to see people living in squalor. That just, but knowing that they are there by choice, oftentimes, what do you say? This is how they're living. And so I have kind of come to the realization that so much of this homeless stuff is because people want to live these lifestyles. And we've created a system of drugs coming into the United States that are so plentiful and yet so addictive that, any kind of homelessness that you're talking about, building housing, that's not going to solve a damn thing. It's really not, because then you're going to be putting people who are either crazy or whacked out on drugs into homes, home situations. Is that going to solve their problem? No. And like one of you said over here, is that there's no room at the inn. And I'm talking about people in mental institutions and talking about rehab. Super hard to get in. And unless you have, really good insurance, that rehab is going to be super expensive. It's a 30-day rehab typically. And how many addicts have to go through that 7 or 8 times before it takes, if it ever takes. So most folks don't have those resources. And then to get somebody, put into a mental institution against their own will, Washington, Oregon, California, most of these states don't have the ability to do that. Whereas, years ago, when I was a kid, way back in the day, in the 70s, you didn't see a lot of homeless people just wandering around. You saw more like hardcore alcoholics that weren't crazy. But the crazy people, they were in institutions, right? As they should be. But then we determined, and Reagan determined all that kind of stuff, where, we're just going to dump everybody out because, so many people have been abused. We can't have that. So let's just let them all run around on the streets and let's just give them a whole bunch of drugs that are wildly addictive. And, we'll just have to see how this goes. And that's what we're watching in real time. All right. So take a few more comments here. Philadelphia. Yeah. Philadelphia is Democrats don't like cops, do they? No. Democrats do not like cops. It was better with Al Capone in Chicago. You know what? So much of this stuff is we're like holding on to old movies. Like this old dude here, this guy, I don't know how old he is, but I'm like, you go, dude. I mean, at least somebody's taking a stand. And then you've got this, ridiculousness from the police force and, this is inhumane. It's like, yeah, but letting people live out on the sidewalks, especially women, I mean, they are just targets all day long, right? All day long. That's not where they should be. How many times has that woman been sexually assaulted? How many times has she been beaten up? How many times has she had all of her stuff stolen? it's horrible, right? It's horrible. And yet we kind of can continue tolerating that. And we just kind of, we just go down those roads. And you're my hero, Sean. Well, I don't know if I should be your hero. I'm not much of a hero. I'm just a guy who, gets behind a microphone. Somebody asked me the other day, how did you get into covering all this? And I started thinking, well, I started to see all these storylines, and I'm like, nobody from like regular civilian life is covering this stuff. I'm a real estate guy. I'll just take my real estate background and say, yeah, that neighborhood used to be like this. Now it's changed. And that kind of just morphed into, we didn't used to have encampments here. We had encampments here. Because I was out appraising for 30 years, out in the field, get in my car, drive from the office to wherever my appraisal assignment was. Sometimes it was damn near down in Oregon. Sometimes it's damn near up in Canada. Washington goes that far. Up in Blaine, I've done appraisals in Blaine. I've done appraisals in Bellingham, done appraisals all over. So I have kind of a general knowledge and a much better knowledge of King County right here, which covers, the big cities, Seattle, and then to the south, we've got Pierce County, Tacoma. Tacoma has some homeless drug issues. Tacoma's always been, it's got some beautiful areas overlooking the Puget Sound that are just epic, but that's once you get there. And there's some very affordable areas of Tacoma that people have been moving to. But I've been watching this stuff kind of unfold, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of folks who are like saying, hey, what's going on here? What's happened? What are we doing? How is this okay? And now I kind of feel like, during the pandemic, the way that state of Washington handled, let's shut everything down and, let's not let out this business open, but we'll have the big mega business stay open because, people need groceries from their big business, but not their little store. Things like that. Just crazy examples of that happening, how that was handled in Washington state. So what I think you saw was, you saw a mass exodus of a lot of reasonable people. And I'm kind of going, but somebody still needs to tell these stories. Somebody needs to give a perspective of what's going on that isn't from mainstream media. And, here we are. So, and I understand that my content does not get pushed out. I just know that. It's a fact. My content gets pushed out very slowly. When it does at times, you'll see big videos that just boom, go because they catch on. But most of my content just doesn't, it doesn't get the views that you're going to see on a similar type channel that's already established, that's already doing it. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is doing a bunch of live streams. See what happens. Just going to stream a bunch of stuff. I'm going to set up a bike right over there. I'm going to sit on the bike and stream because why not? Yeah. I'm here in this office all day anyway. More content, right? Because I've got stories for days of this ridiculousness. All right, let's see. In Tacoma, if you get attacked by the gang, with the Tacoma Police Department will threaten you, a senior citizen. Tacoma, not good. You got some bad stuff going on down there. So what else do we have here? J Street and MLK in Tacoma. Yeah, there's some areas of Tacoma. Young people accept the world like it is, normal to them. There's a lot of that, isn't there? That the younger generation, working from home is normal, making $1 million a year for not really producing much, becoming famous on TikTok for, showing whatever assets God might have given you, instead of actually putting out content that people, are going to learn from. 2023 is a different time. So I kind of feel like, I started the real estate gig really early and I'm transitioning into doing this full time. I'm still running 2 other companies. They're not very busy right now. So that's why I'm taking this opportunity right now when we got a real estate slowdown going on to just kind of really ramp up some of this stuff. And you're seeing more content. And check out, you can check out our, let's see if I can get this to go. Our member content. We've got a bunch of people signing up. I am creating a lot of content for that channel. It's stuff that I can't put elsewhere because they're storylines that'll get flagged and either get demonetized or won't go anywhere. But they're stories that you guys, people have been consuming. The 10-month-old child who turned blue after ingesting fentanyl in San Francisco. You can't do that on normal channels. You can't do that on normal social media because, that would be considered tragic. That would be considered violating of terms of service. And I would take yet another whack to the channel. I don't really want to go down that road. So if you support me and what I do, head on over to reasonabletv.com. It's $10 a month. Got a lot of content there. I probably am releasing content there, I don't know, right now, every other day, a couple of times a week. Way more content than you're going to find on any other channel kind of like this, especially with as many subscribers as I have. Most channels don't have the ability to put together a subscription channel. I'm going to have some private live streams there and a bunch of stuff. But I got to get better at live streaming. So let's jump on in to this Mayor Ted. Now, the Portland Tribune is a news subsidiary of Coin. And Coin, to me, down in Portland, does some pretty accurate reporting. So the Tribune quizzes Mayor Ted Wheeler on his plan for massive sanctioned homeless camps. Now, I've talked about his plan for as long as it's been out there. And it's a very aggressive plan, but in my opinion, it is going absolutely nowhere. Let's jump on in. Let's find out. So here we go. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, along with Portland City Commissioner Dan Ryan, has proposed the largest and most expansive plan yet to address homelessness in the city. So, everybody wants to crap on Mayor Ted Wheeler. Okay, here's where I give him props. He's at least got a plan. It might not be a good plan, and it's not going to work, but he's at least got a plan. He's holding on to that. It's like, all right, you're doing something. Instead, and I know I'll take some heat on that, but you get what I'm saying. At least he's doing something. And it might be in the totally wrong direction. But I give props for not necessarily trying, but okay, Mayor Ted, all right. Well, let's see what you got anyway. I'm kind of at that point, right? The proposal has drawn responses across the board, including praise from some in the business community and condemnation from some service providers. That's interesting, right? Oh, taking a bite into the billion-dollar industrial homelessness complex. At the heart of the multifaceted plan, the proposal to build and sanction 6 homeless camps, each large enough for 250 residents to be built somewhere in the city. From my understanding, it is 750 total residents. It is 6 camps of 125 a pop. So 3 camps, and so groupings of 3, 250 residents. So this, how many thousand homeless folks do you have in Portland? Thousands. This is going to do a little bit of a dent in there. As far as if you look at the sheer numbers, this is going to have a little bit of a dent on, okay, you got XYZ number of homeless people and you got XYZ number of beds available. None of the homeless people in Portland who are there to do drugs are going to take advantage of this housing. None of them are going to go there. That's my prediction. And in watching video after video after video and being at the sweeps, seeing people line up, some people do actually want to get help, but the vast majority of people in the encampments leave. They just scoot on down the road before they're really forced to make a commitment. All right, we're either going to arrest you or we got to clean this out. The city comes in with the police and they just basically force people out and go down that route. And, Portland has been doing a ton of that. Portland has been cleaning things out. San Francisco has been doing a ton of that. They're way behind. Both cities are way behind. San Francisco, there's a state Supreme Court order that basically says, no, you can't do that. Can't do that because it's unclear whether you're providing a bed for these folks or not. How we got here is mind-blowing to me. But now that we know that we're here and this is what's going on, it's kind of like, all right, let's identify what's really happening. You got a bunch of crazy people running around, and then you got a whole bunch of people on drugs. If you watch enough videos, you will have drug addicts, especially on Soft White Underbelly. If you haven't watched that channel, he's got some good stuff in there. Controversial guy from the standpoint of some of his content creation, and it's poverty porn. He's taking advantage of these people. But he's actually, Mark Leda, he's actually telling stories. He's allowing these folks that are, on the streets of Skid Row, maybe they're in Appalachia, they're in some of these communities where you've got literally the most downtrodden in the United States. Excuse me. He is describing their story. He is letting them tell their story. And oftentimes they will say, yeah, I moved from here to here. And they'll go, yeah, I was in Seattle. I went down to Portland. I went to San Francisco. I went down to LA, basically dialing in these cities where you can do all the drugs in the world that you want. That they're going to give you free needles. They're going to give you everything but the drugs to do your thing. That's the ecosystem that we live in. So when you wonder why LA, when San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle, when you wonder why the encampments have popped up the way that they have, to me, it's pretty clear. And most recently, it's fentanyl. It's fentanyl. I had one of Portland's finest send me a photo the other day, and it was in what is referred to as OD Alley. And it showed like the dirt area for a tree that was growing. And in the, 2x2 dirt area was just littered with little bits of tinfoil. Littered with little bits of tinfoil. Meaning people, been smoking the fentanyl and then you discard it and ends up, how's that tree going to do? Poor tree. It didn't do anything. How much fentanyl does it take to kill a tree? I don't know, because it doesn't seem to take much to give normal people an OD, does it? All right, so let's get back to this story here. So we got the proposal. You got 250 residents, 3 different camps. The Tribune posed several questions to Mayor Ted Wheeler. Where will these camps be built? The Tribune asks. And we're reading this because this is the first really major West Coast type approach. San Francisco's had some, LA's had some, but we're talking about basically building some mini cities with towns, we should call them, homeless towns, right? And this was Mayor Ted Wheeler's answer for where will these camps be built. We're in active conversations with numerous property owners to come to an agreement on site locations. Locations will be announced in the near future. How would you feel about having 250 drugged up homeless people living in an encampment in your backyard? You want to talk about some NIMBY, I think is what they referred to it, not in my backyard? Think you're going to have some of that? Whew, not good. Tribune asks, you're going to run into very, very heavy neighborhood opposition if they're in the neighborhood. What is the plan to counter that? Mayor Ted. We've held numerous community meetings with the public to engage with neighborhoods to hear their concerns, ideas, and input. We started these town halls by extending an open invitation to anyone in the community that would like to attend. Hundreds showed up. Opening question was, imagine one of these designated camping sites was in your neighborhood. What services and precautions would need to be implemented for these to work? How about folks want to come into the encampment? That's fine, but they got to be sober. They got to have a job, or could be working towards something, towards a job, and they got to be sober. And the minute they violate those, kind of like you have in a halfway house or a sober house, the second you violate those terms, you're gone. You're back out there. So it's a pay to play type scenario, right? Camps will be in areas. This is Mayor Ted continuing. Camps will be in areas across the city, so no single area will be solely impacted. There will be continued community engagement once camps are up and running. So the entire city will be impacted, is what he's saying. He's spreading it out far enough where everything's impacted. That's kind of my thought, right? All right, so you don't want to concentrate them in one area. You don't want to do that. Okay, I get that. So the Tribune, what's the city's plan to get the county, metro, and state to pony up? Well, we have 800 self-cited, unsanctioned campsites across 146 square miles of Portland. This is a public health emergency where we're working to get those experiencing outdoor homelessness with a very high percentage of dealing with untreated mental health and substance abuse closer to services. All right. So that's one of the kickers, right? That is one of the kickers, is that it's got to be close enough. Most of these people don't have cars. They're going to have to be transported, right? And that's if we ever get to this. I mean, I do not hold out high hope. Mayor Ted is at least addressing the fact. I'm not trying to give Mayor Ted props here. I'm just saying, at least he's saying untreated mental health and substance abuse. So these folks shouldn't be in encampments. They should be in treatment, or they should be in a psych ward somewhere. That's where they need to be. And maybe in a psych ward getting detoxed off the drugs they're on. Because, I mean, some of these folks are, there's a reason they're doing the amount of drugs they are, because they are, they need help. These folks need help. And they are certainly not going to get it if you just kind of, put them in an encampment. And I know that in the encampments, they're going to say, yeah, we're going to have wraparound services for this, and this. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but they're closing their doors on their little mini homes and they're just shooting themselves to kablooey. So how does that help anybody? But, in a place like Portland, you're not going to have all right, we'll accept you, but you got to be sober. Let's go into the bathroom and you take a piss test, or let's draw some blood. How about that? You okay with that? When's the last time you used? That's never going to happen. Not going to happen. Just, hard no-go. Let's keep going here. So Mayor Ted says, we have made clear asks to our government partners to support specific funding requests. Yeah, Mayor Ted's got a big plan, but no funding. And so Multnomah County to delay their budget vote this week. That's what he wants. And to agree to a joint 30-day financial review. It's asking for $21 million to fund the capital and operation costs. So the county has over $33 million. So we just start to go through a whole bunch of numbers. When I started reading that, my eyes glaze over. So here's the one figure from this kind of stuff. They're going to want $123 million annually to run 750 people. What's that per person? Somebody with math, tell me. 123 million to run 750 residents. I'll try and look over here and see what that is. But yeah, it's not good, right? I mean, that's a boatload of money to, try and do what little we're doing here. Because remember, this doesn't cover all the homeless people in Portland, nor will it ever serve to do that. Nor will it ever serve to do that throughout any of these communities, because that's not really how this works. So will the new rule of forbidding street camping pass legal muster? Efforts to do so in the past haven't. That's the big thing. Is they're trying to say in Portland, it's going to be illegal to camp out in the street if there is a bed available and you don't take it. Here's the Tribune. If a person won't leave the sidewalk, which municipal employee will make them move? A police officer? Mayor Ted, we're hiring 50 new outreach and navigation workers to better connect homeless Portlanders to shelter and other services. We'll continue the current practice used by outreach teams. How is that working out right now in Portland? Yeah, it's just not working out, right? So then we got a study, and we got Mayor Ted. So kind of saying these designated campuses are designed to more effectively connect existing services to those experiencing outdoor homelessness and other issues. Standard stuff. Bottom line, this is going nowhere. This is much of the same. Mayor Ted got a plan. Will it get put in place? Probably not. Will he talk about it throughout the rest of his time as mayor of Portland? Yes. He'll point to this as, well, we gave it a good effort. We really tried to make something happen here. It's not happening, because to me, what has put Portland on the map for all of this craziness has been, well, let's decriminalize drugs. Let's just go down this roadway. Fentanyl? Bring it on. It's good. Portland had a massive bust the other day. I can't remember how, it was like enough doses to kill 1 million people. Read that pretty often, and you're like, okay, you're telling me that, but the way they're dosing it out, and not that many people are dying, but what's it going to be, 120 over 1,000 overdoses this year? I mean, COVID killed what, 1 million people total? Total that we know of? Yeah. How about all the athletes just croaking, reporters just plopping over? Get some crazy stuff going on there, right? You get some wild stuff. We'll try and unpack some of that. But so any of the COVID stuff I'm doing over on reasonabletv.com, because COVID is still basically a no-go. You can't talk about it. I have people all the time say, Sean, here's my opinion. I put it out there on social media, and yeah, my channels all got taken down. Now I need you to take your channel and do the same thing, but you don't have enough balls to do that. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that you put up stuff that you knew was going to get your channel taken down, and it did, because it violated terms of service. Sometimes it's examples of racism. Sometimes it's just examples of just crazy stuff. And like, okay, that does not shock me that you got your channel. You basically were canceled. That stuff's kind of out there. But then they want me to do the same thing on the same damn topic. And I'm like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that just doesn't seem all that smart. So what I'm doing is any content that I have been tagged for in the past, whether it is, there are no advertisers for this type of content. That's, the powers that be way of saying, don't produce this content. It's all over on the private channel. That's the way it's got to go. But most YouTube, content creators, especially in my genre, don't have the ability to do that. So they're going to hook up with a locals.com or something else. Whereas I've got enough bandwidth here between my businesses to make a go of this on my own and not have to do any of this crazy stuff where I bend the knee. And even if it's bending the knee to what used to be, a Dave Rubin type platform, now that's owned by Locals, I think is owned by Rumble. Is that right? It's owned by Rumble. All right. Enough of me babbling. Let's see what you guys got going on over here. Let me get to some of the comments. Yep. So mayor's office gonna pocket most of that in fees. That is so true. It's like, where did all this money go? Yeah, you give folks free stuff, they will abuse it. Absolutely. It's going to take the police to deal with it. Yep, 100%. You're going to have to send in the cops. You know what? In Portland, you don't have enough cops. So where is it really going to go? Elaine Smith, I agree. Okay, somebody's talking about major cities dissolve. That's when you'll walk away and build up another city and start over somewhere else. I think that is already happening. Florida, great example. Idaho, great example. I've got a good friend that I've been talking about lately who just moved to Boise, moved from Issaquah right here, moved to Boise, loves it, loves the atmosphere, loves the people. And he self-admittedly, he says, Boise, downtown Boise, it's got a little bit of, some liberalness going on, but overall, so you've already got these towns that are being built based on people who tolerate some stuff, don't tolerate some other stuff. Here in Seattle, I'm not the most favorite guy here. Let's just say that. Rumble is free speech zone. Let's talk about that for a second. It is, but if you are a major platform creator, content creator, there's not enough eyeballs on it to make a go of it. Financially, it doesn't put you anywhere. There's a handful of people watching, but vast majority, no. There just aren't enough people there. It's not indexed, and it is not, let's be honest. YouTube is hand in hand with Google. So when people do their searches, oftentimes that'll pull up a video. That's how my content gets out there. Not lately much anymore because my content isn't being, it's not being pushed out. Meaning you guys are watching it. You guys are subscribers oftentimes. If you're not, I would love to have you as a subscriber. Best thing you can do is subscribe. Next best thing you can do is share the content with friends, family, anybody that you think is, it might be relevant to, and go down that road, because I'm at a point where I'm pushing a lot of content to Rumble because that goes on the private channel. but there's just not enough eyeballs there for a business model to make it go. And one of my friends said the other day, and they said, not yet. And I'm kind of like, yes, but there's a bunch of different things. Rumble, YouTube, wildly different characteristics. That's kind of just where we sit. So what is this over here? We upgraded some account. Yeah. So I'm all for building new cities, but these cities we're talking about are less than 200 years old. That's basically a city in its childhood. It's so true. How did we go sideways so quickly? How did we go? Seattle just really, when people talk about, wow, my family was doing this in the Civil War. And I'm kind of like, well, my family was out this direction pretty early on. And it was basically just an Indian territory, right? These cities are not. They haven't been around for that long, especially you get as far west coast here as I am, which is not far from Canada, and we're on the Pacific Ocean, so about as far west as you can get, north and west as you can get. These cities just aren't that old. A lot of them were built with when the railroad came west. Yeah, it's wild stuff, crazy stuff. Let's see what else we got going here. Sorry for the big long. They're just not dying as fast as the mayors were hoping for. There's no great solutions to what we're talking about, is there? There's no great solutions. You might want to say, hey, yeah, they got to get into treatment. They got to get into mental institutions. We simply don't have enough. And so that's why you're going to continue to see these storylines for years moving forward. Years. Because there's no quick fix. It takes massive amounts of time and money to put together the infrastructure for all the stuff that we've just talked about in, those last 3 stories. That's not happening anytime soon. And I honestly believe the powers that be that are in existence right now, they don't really want to see people get help. Because if they did, they'd be doing it and it'd be happening on mass scale. But we've just got all these programs that take the funding, the hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. Where's all that money going? Where's the accountability? I don't know. It's not here. It's not what I'm looking at. All right. That's it for me. I got to go eat some lunch and then do some real estate stuff. I know, boring stuff. Thank you so much for being here. Again, love to have you subscribe. Love to have you share the content. Check out reasonabletv.com. Got a bunch of stuff going on. And I'm going to try and do this live stream where we cover, 3, maybe 4 topics. And you'll be able to see these. We're going to chop up these as little individual segments too. So these segments will be on YouTube as standalones. Thank you so much for being here. We'll catch up on the next one. I appreciate it. Bye for now. Now I got to figure out how to end the chat. Go over here somehow. And then I scream out Darian because he's my IT tech guy. No, we go...